Okay, everybody, how's it going? So, just gonna do a little bit of this rundown on to my ever first Savage. Well, I should never turn it off first. Remember, vehicle off first, and then transmitter off last. Anyway, that was my own little rookie mistake right there. um, but yeah, everybody was just curious about the Savage whatsoever. This was my ever first Savage I had now many years. I think now I had the Savage for like 8 years now. Yeah, 8 years is when I had this truck. Well, technically it was like completely different when I got this from a hobby shop used. Got this truck for like $60. It had actually that I think it was like a hot bodies extended chassis. Well, not well. I mean, like I was like didn't really know how the Savages work or not, and that's when I did not have any experience with nitros many years ago, which is more focused on brushless. And yes, I did convert this truck into brushless, and then throughout the years, man, I was just running into problems, like running into diff problems, ESC and motor issues, light post puffing. I was like, man, I should never convert the Savage into brushless. So then I went back into nitro this thing, and once again, I have never ever looked back. Well, my first ever Savages and whatnot. Even though when the times get really tough, I'm never getting rid of the Savage because the Savage holds a lot of memories. Even when it was giving me hell throughout the years. So I was just got done tuning. Well, I think it's still kind of in the tuning process, but this is a Nova carburetor. I really don't know the part number or not, but from my previous video, I left a link in the description down below, the part number for the carburetor. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna fit onto this good old LRP 32. Probably one of the popular engines for like 1 scale nitros, probably in Savages in most parts. But yeah, this carburetor actually it tunes pretty good. It kind of likes to run rich for some odd reason, but I mean, once again, or regardless, I'm still tuning the carburetor to get its proper tune and stuff like that. But I mean, overall, this carburetor is running great so far. The XTEC carburetor, it's technically not that bad, but when the engine does heat up, the carburetor also heats up, and when a carburetor does heats up, then it boils the fuel, and then all the fuel goes out of the fuel line with not, and that can be really annoying because then you're gonna have to let the engine to cool down a bit, so that way you can reprime the engine and fire it up. With this one, it has like this plastic thermal collar or whatnot. You actually insert it into the engine first and then the carburetor, and it really does a good job of more like a heat prevention shield or whatnot to prevent the fuel from boiling up, so that way the engine can still keep running. That was actually the major goal, to upgrade this engine with this Nova carburetor. I mean, you can actually run the Hobeo carburetors as well. The Hobeo Hyper 30 carburetor, I think it's called, is a direct bolt on to the LRP 32, and they tune pretty good as well. I guess for the most part, people don't like about Nova engines is because they have one of those hex drive low and high speed needle, including the idle. If you just get yourself like this 2.5 inch screwdriver you're never going to use again, you can use this as a tuning screwdriver, so that way you can adjust your needles and whatnot. But yeah, now sticking back to the topic, the Savage has an FLM Fast Lane Machine X wheelbase chassis with a this is more like a mid tank conversion, but I still like the fuel tank on the side of the truck. It's just I want a little bit more exposed, if that makes sense, to make it more like a machine. Besides that, of course, everybody is completely different. These are the Hobeo oh my gosh, I forgot what kind of truck they came from. I'm trying to remember. Okay, so there's this Hobea monster truck, the Hyper MT. Oh, so these shocks came from the MT plus 2 or 2 plus or whatever. But these shocks are shorter than the OEM Savage shocks. But man, I tell you what, these shocks do a really good job absorbing the impact. The shock oil that came with the kit works flawlessly. I mean, like, feels nice and smooth and absorbs the high jumps no problem. You guys saw it on the other videos when I was like, launching this thing into a big ramp at the monster truck show. Probably jump, I'll say maybe like 10-15 feet in the air, but took the landing a lot like a champ, and so kept on running, man. So these shocks, these shocks perform really good, and they also look really nice as well. Actually, the anodized blue matches with the anodized cooling head on the LRP, which makes it pretty cool. What else? J Concepts, Renegade tires. These are actually, those are more like LMT spec wheels, but the offsets are much shorter than the OEM LMT wheels, because the LMT wheels stick out a lot more. These wheels are specifically designed for oh my gosh, what's it called again? For like general use 1/8 scale monster trucks, like your Revos, T-Maxes, Creightons, Outcasts, Savages, all other 8 scale monster trucks in the market. That's what these wheels, not the tires, but the wheels are called the aggressor wheels. So basically they have like a shorter offset, because since most 8 scale monster trucks has no independent suspension, and if you add the LMT wheels, it's gonna give you like a wider stance, so it's gonna look too wide. That's why J Concepts to re-engineer this wheel to have like a shorter wheelbase. I'm sorry, not wheelbase, to have like a shorter offset, so that way it won't make the truck too wide. Man, I really don't know why I did not talk about the spur gear, but this is the xmaxx spur gear mod that my friend Diamantis, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but he's the one that made me that carbon twinzilla chassis kit and whatnot, or basically the carbon fiber twin savage chassis kit. Also, I broke one of the FLM engine plates and whatnot, so I actually asked him to make me like a special engine plate right here. He made that. It's actually some really thick aluminum plating and whatnot. Yeah, look at that thick boy. That bitch is never gonna break. But yeah, actually, this engine plate he designed for me has like a 2.5 millimeter offset in the back, because the xmaxx spur gear is actually sticking out a lot more than your stock Savage spur gear setup. Or if you want to, you can stick with a stock Savage spur gear setup, but then what you can run is like one of those, I think those truggy flywheels and clutch belts, are like a generic 1/8 scale flywheels and clutch belts, because since they're wider and whatnot, or something like that. But I mean, the stock Savage flywheels and clutch belts, it works just fine. Actually, the clutch shoes I'm running is the Low C LST. Well, you cannot guys see it, but I'm running those LST aluminum clutch shoes and whatnot, and they bite down on the clutch belt really good. Also, they come with some really nice thick springs, so that way the engine spools up enough, and then when they engage, it gives it that nice snap pop wheelie and whatnot. But yeah, actually, now talking about the pipe, everybody was asking me questions. Hey man, where did you get the pipe? So, a friend off from Facebook I actually gave him a shout out so many times is because, you know, these pipes actually perform really good. So there was like a controversy, whatnot, happening on Facebook about how he's making pipes and whatnot. Basically, what he did is that, you know, he connected, you know, to, what was it? It's one of those more stainless steel shaping cones for, you know, for like actual ice cream cones and whatnot. Something more like a mold for some food and whatnot. Some food grade material. So basically, he welded these pipes together. Actually, he cut this end off, and what he actually did is that I think it looks like, yeah, as you guys can see, that, you know, either there's like a gap right here or this cutout. So I think what he did is that he probably maybe, you know, made this a little bit more tight and then welded whatsoever. I mean, there's some people that are like making fun of him, or, you know, talking shit about him, that, you know, he makes like really shitty ass pipes and whatnot. I mean, you know, once again, this pipe really wakes up this LRP. You know, it's the design, you know, the cone shapes, but I mean, some experts say, well, it's not just welding two cones together. You actually need to understand how much, you know, back pressure of the timing of the engine actually needs. So, you know, I guess that really got overwhelming for him, and then, you know, he just stopped making pipes, sadly. Also, from what I heard, is that ERCM has stopped making pipes as well. I'm really not sure if that's true or not, but if it is so, then, well, I guess probably maybe the end of era of end pipes, because these pipes really performs good. Like, you know, it really wakes up this LRP, man. So yeah, along that part, what else? What else I need to cover? I think that's pretty much it. I covered in this video. Oh, I forgot one thing. So these are the Integi rear hub lockouts. I know, guys, the truck is dirty as hell, but along that side, people, I mean, there's like mixed thoughts of Integi aftermarket hop-up parts and whatnot. But I mean, like, they are kind of a little bit loose, a little bit, but I mean, as long as they keep the truck driving straight, that really does not matter to me at all. As long as they're doing their job of making, you know, just making this truck driving straight, versus, you know, having the wheel or the tie rod pop out, then, you know, as long as it's preventing that, I'm happy with that. But I mean, some people, you know, they're like, you know, saying, oh man, Integi parts is not that good. I mean, there's some parts that Integi parts are like shit, but these parts, I say that they're okay, but they, you know, they do their job well. Oh, I just forgot to mention that these are FLM Savage shock towers and whatnot, which is the reason why I'm running these shocks, because I want to try the Hobel shocks, but then in order to run the Hobel shocks, I need to run like a universal style, or the Savage shock tower that has like multiple holes, so that we can run different shocks, or you can even run, you know, like your standard buggy or trucky shocks to make this truck more agile in turns and whatnot. But I mean, these shocks, they perform just fine. So yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much it. That pretty much wraps up this video and whatnot about this truck. I mean, like, I kept on having thoughts of doing a review or rundown on my custom Savage throughout the years I've had, but I just keep forgetting because I get so easily not distracted, but I'm just so you know, just so much stuff with work, you know what I mean? You know, even after the holiday season is over, you know, back at work at UPS, still, you know, dealing with some peak or whatnot. Actually, we're getting a lot of returns, I should say. But, and I guess I forgot to cover one more thing. This is a low C or TLR 4.0 fuel tank. I have this anchored down with zip ties. There's one zip tie right here, the other zip tie right here, and this big zip tie to keep this thing locked down. Some people think that it's gonna be loose, but I mean, I could pick the truck. I can just pick it up, twist it. That sucker ain't going nowhere. And I actually have this big zip tie locked down. Gonna get his leaf out. Locked down by this hole right here. So basically the fuel tank is secured. So yeah, the fuel tank ain't going nowhere. Okay, I think that's about it. Anyway, guys, this is probably the last video of this year 2024. But I hope y'all had a great Merry Christmas as well. And a Happy New Year. Bye-bye, y'all.